Shalom, this is Joel Blackford with Beth Hesed Sabbath Fellowship. We're virtual only based out of St. Paul, Minnesota. The phone number works if you'd like to contact us. We do the thought behind the thought. Like today, it's going to be political strategy plus science. There'll be a lot of cosmological science today. We do the philosophy of eschatology, what you need to know, your reality, our existence, plus, the thought behind the thought. We're going to be solving a lot of revelation today. Like things like, why do all the leaders and even the poor people know about what's coming for the sixth seal? And they all go underground. Well, you have to start thinking about that. So it's the sixth seal and the third and fourth trumpets and the fourth bowl and all these cosmic activities that are going to be coming. And the leaders will know, and they do know, and I'll prove that to you today. Why did they choose Greenland for this movie? It's a safe zone, people, okay? And it will be an incredible destination after the pole flip, plus northern Canada. Okay, so there's strategic positioning going on before we hit World War III. Okay, and Greenland is part of this. And so the movie is intriguing. They only really explore one part of it, which is space debris, which is how the trumpets kind of happen. They kind of evolve into larger debris. The main thing is Greenland is the focus. Obviously, Europe doesn't get it. They've placed two Finnish soldiers, one Dutch soldier, one British soldier, two Norwegian soldiers. That's like a joke. And I come from a Swedish town, so we know our Norwegian jokes. And then 13 German soldiers. It was actually 15. Okay. We're giving you the news, we're giving you the Bible, and we're giving you a spin to help you understand the strategies because things are coming. These disaster options, they're coming, okay? Impactors, which is debris hitting us. The galactic magnetic current sheet, dust, is coming. That's biblical. The trumpets will bring bigger plagues, gradually larger debris coming in. There will be a smaller micronova and a greater micronova. This is just what's going to happen, and there will be the wobble. We will prove today that everybody's aware of the wobble. It's getting worse. This is Scientific American on the left-hand side. Earth's wobble wreaks havoc on astronomers and astrologers, too. Yeah, January 12th of 2024. It's a year ago, but that's fine. From the Scientific American again, they're noting that the wobble is getting worse. I'll give it to you with the scientific evidence shortly here. But yeah, there's a precession, and it goes through cycles. There's a pole wobble, then a flip, and it's happened many times before. This is Springer Nature. This is actually brand new. We just found out about it this morning. Candidate geomagnetic field models for IGRF14 and secular acceleration. That's what you need to be aware of. The secular acceleration since 2020. They know it's coming. This is Ben reported this from Space Weather News, January 18th, 2026. The main thing is, well, I'll read it on the right-hand side. The worst news about the field. Remember this, the Earth field model is degrading quickly. Every vector is failing to capture how fast things are changing after the 2024 geomagnetic jerk, and there might have been two that year, that powerfully impacted Europe and North America. They forecast nothing but continued deviation between the model and reality. Next geomagnetic jerk is due in 2028. But most importantly, in 2019, they had to release the first ever out of cycle field update because how much the field was changing. They assured us it was an anomaly, but and that it was slowing down. They lied. Okay. And don't be afraid of the pole shift. That's what they're saying. Here we are less than 7 years later. However, they're essentially saying that they're going to have to do it again. They're going to have to constantly update because the wobble is getting worse and they know the pole flip is coming. So this is Springer Nature. This has been peer reviewed, people. Okay, and so if you want to read more about it, you can pause it, read on the left-hand side. They know what's going on. They know that our results reveal a pronounced SA pulse. So it's an acceleration, secular acceleration in 2022. Provide evidence for a geomagnetic jerk in 2024. Yeah, they know all about this. There's no doubt that they know. Okay, and this is again from Ben. So pause it if you want to read the whole thing. But basically, they're proving that the rapid, nonlinear core field changes have already contributed to the early degradation of this forecast, underscoring the challenges of modeling geomagnetic field evolution and the importance of continuous satellite and ground-based observations. Okay, so the bottom line is, according to Ben and this report, it's going to get much worse. It's going to get much, much worse. You can't hide it anymore. So Zacharias is a really cool guy, and he's been doing the cottage industry stuff off Ben's musings, okay? And so he's saying in his paper number 2, systematic directional forcing of Earth's rotational pole towards 75 degrees west. So he's saying it's happening faster, and you can barely see it. I'll show you this little chart and graph, and just on the next slide, the main thing is he's tracking this. It's logical. We can empirically prove that this is occurring, okay? And this means that we are going through these different phases and pole flips and things like that Ben Davidson has been tracking for years. But now we're coming to another phase where it's going to happen again. We're going to go into the pole flip, okay? And he's proving that we're seeing that, okay? And this is another report. I don't want you to look at the chart that much, but there's a hook there, obviously. And that means that what happens with the hooks is that it's more noticeable, okay? The main thing is from Zacharias. He's saying, historical polar motion characterized by Chandler and annual wobbles maintained by core mantle coupling has fully ended. And I just texted him and he said, yes, I agree with that. The coupling has failed and the resonance is dead. And the pole is now drifting at approximately just a whole lot more than the historical secular rate. Okay? And these sharp hooks are occurring, and that's just a bad sign for what's going to occur. You'll notice the Atlantic meridional overturn of currents. It's going to get worse, and so you'll notice Europe start freezing. Okay? Now, there is also space debris, which is the first part of the trumpet. So 1 through 4 are space debris, gradually getting larger. And you can include the 6th seal in there too. It's space debris, but it's pretty debris, and it won't affect us much. But it is debris. Okay, at the end of the micronova. So this is from Mail Online from probably 2020, but it's about the Tunguska event that occurred in 1908 during Tammuz, which is an interesting time. And so it was a large meteorite. That's 1908, of course. And so what occurred is that it didn't even hit. It kind of bounced back into space, but it devastated the Earth down below. That kind of stuff is going to happen. It's biblical, and you need to prepare for it. I don't know where it's going to hit. God knows, but we don't know. The main thing is there is Apophis coming, and I'm not saying it's going to hit us, but things will hit because that's biblical. Now, Apophis is big. You can see how big it is, but other things have hit before that, too. The main thing is it could be wormwood. Tom Horn said this many years ago before he died, that it was going to be Apophis. We'll see. We know the date of Apophis. That's April 13th of 2029. We don't know if Tom's correct, but we do know that it is a sign that debris is coming during the trumpets. Okay? And so we'll just give you one of the trumpets here. This happens to be the third one. The third angel sounded his shofar, and a great star, blazing like a torch, fell from the sky onto a third of the rivers and onto the springs of water. And the name of the star was Bitterness in the text, but it's wormwood. And a third of the water became bitter, and many people died from the water that had been turned bitter. So what you will see is when it hits, things will get colder, but also the water will be a problem. And then eventually we'll run out of water. Which is biblical. That's like what occurred with Moses and Pharaoh. So this third trumpet is coming at some point in time, and it'll turn things bitter. And that's what wormwood means. The main thing is it's a great star, and there's a mountain before that, and there's debris before that too during the trumpets. So what happens is when debris hits our Earth, it just causes things to get cold, horribly cold. So during the trumpets, you'll get colder. Then when you go into the bowls, it's going to get hotter, very, very hot. And so just expect that to occur. There will be a little bit of a phase between the trumpets and the bowls where things aren't so bad. So people will be able to fly and visit places and things like that. But really expect things to get colder, okay? And certain countries to just freeze up. Okay, and I'll explain, like Russia will be dragged across the magnetic North Pole. So they're going to die. That's why they'll want to move someplace. But Trump is repositioning them so that they can't go towards, say, Iceland or Greenland, and they can't go towards Canada, say. He's going to force them to invade Europe. And according to one prophecy from Dudeman, they're going to head towards France. Okay? So, because they'll be freezing as they're dragged across that magnetic North Pole where you can't live. I mean, if you go up to the magnetic pole right now, North Pole or South Pole for that matter, you'll freeze to death. Now, of course, it's the summertime, and technically there are people visiting the South Pole right now, but not when it's winter, okay? And that's what's coming. Okay, so just in a stunning escalation, Danish and allied NATO troops have been pouring into nuke Greenland's capital after the Danish PM met. Frederiksen declared the Greenland remains firmly under Danish sovereignty and autonomy, and any attack would trigger a NATO Article 5. Well, he sent 50 guys over there, and they're all, they're all wearing pink. So this is my message to Ben, and he's not arguing with me that yes, Russia will be dragged across the magnetic North Pole. He's not willing to comment on World War III. I'm saying it occurs as these nations are literally being flipped and fought over, and things are strategized. Russia will have to start a war, and they do, according to Dudeman. And we'll get to that when we get to one of the last slides. So stick with me. Okay, so is Russia aware? Yes, according to Grok. And this is factual here. This is up to date too. Grok is hitting some things that are literally they were posted minutes ago and they're factual and citing it. So Russia is aware of the movement often described as wobbling or drifting of the Earth's magnetic North Pole, as it's well documented by global geophysical phenomenon tracked by international scientific bodies, including those with Russian involvement. The magnetic North Pole has been shifting from northern Canada towards Siberia, so these are all facts, okay, for decades, accelerating in the late 20th, earliest 21st century to peaks around X amount of kilometers per year. It's accelerating faster, okay? And so they're going to cite based on molten iron in the Earth's outer core, which is strengthening our magnetic field patch under Siberia, pulling the pole in that direction. That's what they're claiming. That might be the case. Grok is pretty smart that way. So the Russian physicists are aware, and their agencies are aware, that actively involved in studying both the ongoing pole drift and the broader science of potential flips. Like other scientists worldwide, the wobbling is real and tracked, but not a dramatic sudden flip. It isn't happening anytime soon. So that's Grok. But it's accurate based on all I know the reports that they're pulling from, because I did check some of those, and I have those cited as independent reports. Okay, so expect strategic repositioning. Trump is pushing to keep Greenland because he knows Russia would need to move population someplace to survive. So if Russia can't go to an open space like Greenland, they'll go towards Europe. They will. They'll push towards France. And that is the prophetic side of this from Dudeman. So expect this to occur. Once again, as the North Pole wobbles towards Russia, why wouldn't Putin conquer Greenland and move millions of Russians there to await the pole shift? Okay, and Trump is restricting Russia to only Europe. He's going to push them into a box, and they're going to be angry, and they'll strike back. Okay, and so China. Let's move on to China and prove that they're aware too. So this is China gathers planetary defense team as worries about potential killer asteroid grow. So yes, they're aware of asteroids. They're also aware of the pole flip and things like that. And I'll show you reports, don't worry. So yes, China is fully aware of both the ongoing movement or wobble, drift of Earth's magnetic poles and the long-term phenomenon of geomagnetic pole reversals. They have different institutes that are researching this. I read the reports all the time, not as fringe or apocalyptic events. Yeah, fine. China's forming a planetary defense team after the discovery of asteroid blah, blah, blah. There, everybody wants to know when the asteroids are coming and where they're going to hit and try to prevent this. The EU is doing this too through their ESA. Okay, so they're doing asteroid monitoring, and that is the first part of the trumpets, obviously. So they are monitoring the space rocks, and this is from South Korea or South China Post, and so a Morning Post. So, and Space Insider, too, is reporting. I'm citing also that 2026 is the year of the fire horse, according to China astrology. So just keep that in mind. It's interesting that they want it to be the fire horse. And it's Hippos Puros, in the Greek for the fiery red horse that's the second horse. Okay, I'm arguing it's already open, but it's intriguing that they're citing that this year in terms of their astrology. Now, I disagree with Zihan on this, but I want to cite that he was the evidence for this. China is prepping. They're adding 120 days of stockpile, and he thinks they're stupid for a nuclear war to stockpile this way. I'm saying they're brilliant based on what's going to happen, which is space debris hitting and also the magnetic North Poles and South Pole are going to wobble more. So their 120-day stockpile is brilliant because it's planetary defense. That's why they're doing this. Zihan only thinks about wars. Only as soon as war breaks out, all that is going away. They're not planning for a war right away. The war will come later on. They're planning for a 120-day stockpile when the debris hits or when the pole flips more, okay, or wobbles. So their underground salt caverns are safe, okay, but most of it is above ground. And he said in this article from Samsara report, very expensive targets. Well, that's because China is looking at this cosmos for what's happening. Okay, so storage haste, yes. Food waste, no. They're planning for what's coming. They're above ground. Okay, it's brilliant for what's coming. China's aware of moderate storms causing mid-latitude energetic storms and things like that. So they're seeing these things occur. China is cosmos astute. China craves the Canadian real estate after the pole flip. So you can read this AGU article if you want to. It's from 2024. It's basically saying they know what's going on. These magnetic storms, they know what's going on in terms of pole flips. They're quite aware of all of this. Okay? So, and this is one more article. The shift is accelerating. China's aware. This is, what year was this? I'm sorry, I didn't state the year, but it's from Frontiers. And it's a dramatic evolution of amplitude and position of geomagnetic secular acceleration pulses since 2000. So it agrees with the ESA, it agrees with the USA, it agrees with Russia. Everybody's aware of this. You can pause it if you want to and read the whole article for yourself. But basically, there's an acceleration occurring, and Grok knows it too. Okay. Now we move on to Europe and ESA, and Europe is well aware of both pole wobble, referring to polar motion, including the Chandler wobble or the annual wobble, and the possibility of a geomagnetic pole reversal, often called a pole flip. These are established topics in geophysics, monitored and researched extensively by the ESA, okay, from Europe. And so Grok is stating this, but it is proof right here. You'll see it as I show you this information. the Babylonian Bee says NATO begs U.S. for emergency funding so they can defend Greenland from U.S. So, they don't get everything, but they do know about what's coming. And they have launched swarm missions up into space to track some of these things going on. So they are advanced that way, providing data on field weakening, pole drift, and anomalies. So they're aware. You can look at all of these articles if you want to. I want you to look at one thing on the bottom here from their Planetary Defense Fund, which is Ramses, ESA's mission to rendezvous with asteroid Apophis, which is due again on 4/13 of 2029. So the ESA is quite aware. They have the ESA is the European Space Agency. They have the ability to defend the planet. And so they are looking out there. So they're not ignorant or anything like that. They're looking for asteroids. They're looking for the pole flip. They're looking for multiple different things that could occur. Okay, so this is from my friend Ben Davidson from 1/16 of 26. Ben Davidson again from Space Weather News. There was a significant geomagnetic excursion at these time frames, 6,000 years ago, 12,000 years ago, 18,000, all of these different time frames, and they all rhyme with 6, okay? This is the Earth disaster cycle. We're due again now. It has already begun, and there is an accelerating loss of field strength and shift of polar position. And I showed you all these other countries that believe the same thing. These events cause climate chaos, increased space radiation, volcanic upticks, and significant increases in dying and extinction rates. Extrapolation of field loss suggests a finality of the event in the 2040s, although the modern electrified infrastructure may not last that long. No, we're going to have grid failures. Absolutely. Evidence strongly suggests similar electromagnetic and climatological changes seen from the sun all the way out past Pluto. So the galactic magnetic current sheet affects, it's galactic, okay? It's not just the Milky Way, okay? And so the galactic current sheet, that dust sheet, and the galactic magnetic reversal are perfect explanations and known to exist in this galaxy and several others. A great solar blast will occur at the reversal point. So he's saying this micronova occurs as the pole flip occurs. Okay, he links them together, and I think he's highly accurate. And Einstein proved that too. Okay, which I believe is best described as the solar micronova, and that is biblical. It's there in the sixth seal. The Earth turns over in this event, causing great tsunamis. And once again, NASA, ESA, China, Russia are all aware of this, people. Okay, now we move on to the strategy, strategery, as Bush used to call it. Orange Land was Greenland. Okay, that's Trump's head there. And then Canada, you can see how we want Greenland and we want the mainland, and we already have Alaska and poor Canada in the middle. Trump knows Canada will be a safe zone too. Greenland will be safe, and it will be some of the most gorgeous real estate in the world after the pole flip. Okay, so he's strategizing that way. And in the meantime, he's running around the world, and he's only doing it to low hanging fruit right now, just the easy places. But he's saying, do whatever I say, or I will Maduro you too. Okay, so it's logical based on where things are going. And I always defend this. I say that the passage of time will state that really the insight and wisdom and understanding from the Bible about Revelation 17 are the seven heads are seven mountains, Mount Rushmore, where the woman sits upon, and the woman is New York City, and she sits upon America. These are the seven kings, but it just says seven in the text. And of them, five are fallen, so five presidents are done. One is Obama, number 44, and the second term is not yet. So the second of Trump is not there yet as of this writing, as of 2024. And when he comes, he must be for a little time. So Trump will not last the full term. And the animal which was, that's the beast, that's the Antichrist, is not, is the eighth. He is of the seven, so he comes from these presidents, okay? In terms of he will know them. He will interact with them, especially the seventh. Okay, and there will be a handoff. He's of the seven. He goes to Sheol, which would be Hades. Handoff to the 10 kings. Well, if I'm correct, he's a billionaire like the other billionaires that are tech billionaires, and they're the 10. They have not yet received the kingdom. Big tech has no lands, okay, and they don't need lands, okay, but they will rule as kings, hosts in the Greek, similar to kings. And they rule as kings right now. There are many articles about that. And they will have one plan. So in the beginning, it says insight, wisdom, understanding. That's the Greek word for nous, which is the brain, physical brain. This brain here is gnome, like computer programming. It's a function of the brain. And they will give their power and might to the animal, and they will make war with the lamb, and the lamb will overcome them. So we have the victory at the end. So this is very interesting about low-hanging fruit and the policies. From Ian Bremmer, I don't know if I agree with him or not, but I agree with what he stated here. The issue is that right now there is a spectrum between the weak countries where Trump operational doctrine is F around and find out, and then the powerful countries where Trump's operational doctrine is taco. And you know what that means, okay? Where Trump always chickens out. That's TACO, taco. Xi and China are in the taco camp. Venezuela and Maduro are found in the FAFO camp. And right now, the Americans consider the Europeans to be solidly FAFO and low-hanging fruit. So they need to be credible. They seem to be able to show Trump that there will be consequences that matter for Trump personally and matter for the United States if the Americans are going to throw away the alliance and undermine the territorial integrity of sovereign allied nation, of a sovereign and allied nation, say the EU. That's what they need to do. Are the Europeans capable of doing that? No. Are they in pink? Yes. No, they're not strong enough. They're very weak. They're very pathetic. Okay. Looking at the governments right now in the biggest European countries, including outside the EU, the government of Germany, the government of France, the government of the UK, these are weak, vulnerable, low-hanging fruit governments, and they're going to have a really hard time responding to what Trump is serving up. They're so pathetic. They gave all their weaponry to Ukraine, and now they're begging Trump, their supposed enemy, for weaponry. That's how bad they are. They won't spend any money. They won't build anything. They won't do anything smart. They're stupid and they're weak. Trump is aware of that, and he has a great nose for weakness and vulnerability. It's how he became a billionaire. It's also how he became president. Okay, so once again, low hanging fruit. That's what he's going after right now. So, Carney, a few months ago said, "Oh well, China's the most dangerous security threat in the world today." And then, as soon as Trump started to reposition where he wanted Greenland and he wants Canada too. Okay, Trump does. No doubt about that. This will be the most luxurious real estate on the planet after the pole flip. So then Carney, as the true globalist that he is, ran over to China right away and just begged them to buy his oil and do something to help him. And China could care less. China is not in love with Carney. Okay, Carney says, "I love you." China Chi says, "I don't think about you at all." Okay, so Carney, first of all, he cited the New World Order in his speech, and his advisor looked at him like, "Why did you say that?" Then he's heartened by the leadership of China, and then he calls them strategic partners. No, they're not. They are the biggest bully on the planet today. You think Trump's a bully. Trump's looking long term. He sees the real estate and the fact that people will need to live on. Okay, and these northern climates after the pole flips will be, Greenland and Canada, some of the best real estate on the land, on the earth. So China wants Canada's location after the pole flip. So if China could just go over there and defeat them, they would. Okay, but first they'll start out with Taiwan. Okay, so this is interesting. So, Carney announces that as part of his deal with China, there will be more cooperation between China, and so he wants Chinese soldiers in Canada to enforce the policies because he knows his own soldiers won't shoot his own people. Okay, but China wants Canada's location, so they want soldiers over here. Okay, once again, this is Carney saying New World Order, and his advisor just to his left there is looked back at him like, "Why did you say that?" But you can see Carney is a sick deviant because one of his buddies was Ghislaine Maxwell, and of course, the other guy that's involved with that. So, it's pathetic. We're not going to talk as much about Iran right now because that's down the road. I don't know how that's going to work out. I do want to say, in this case, this is breaking Israel news or Israel 365 news. Trump as modern Cyrus. I do want to cite that part of it. Okay. I don't know how Iran's going to work out because you need the Gog Magog thing. But I am citing that they'll be wielding swords and be on horses, which means it's primitive after the fourth bowl. Okay. And then you have Persia working together with what I believe is Turkey. Okay. And you can read this for yourself if you want to. The main thing is Trump is the modern day Cyrus. He really is, and they're nailing that properly. And I watch Tusi all the time. I just love the Tusi fellow. Wonderful guy. I recommend him heartily. The main thing is they're talking about the Cyrus Accords now. Okay, that's the new phrase. The Pahlavi, the Crown Prince, he is saying Cyrus Accords. That's Trump. Just keep that in mind. It's very prophetic. So as things start to get bad, as this inverts, as we realize that we've lost probably 27 to 33% of our magnetosphere, but some reports now are saying it's up to 50%, then Trump will head towards Trumplandia, which is Greenland, okay? And East Mar-a-Lago and Macedonia, like donate. So this is from Zacharias again, his report here in graph, and the only thing keeping the system from free falling is inertia. And so very interesting. But he's citing that things will really start to invert in 2026. And so that's why Greenland's important. And so you can see it again. You can see the inversion, whether it's done by Zachariah or by Ben Davidson. In this case, we had full strength years ago probably before the 1859 Carrington event, but now it's going to get worse. Okay, and so you'll see eventually then the pole flip with the micronova. Okay, once again, Greenland will be in that great location. It will be a safe zone. And Canada, too. It'll be tropical in Canada. It'll be gorgeous in Canada. Okay, but both poles will move towards opposite ends of the equator. And based on ice cap weight, okay, so just watch that. Parts of India and Asia will move to the magnetic North Pole and they'll die. They'll have to move or die. So once again, India towards the North Pole, Africa is going to look pretty sweet, okay? And South America is going to be on the South Pole, okay? So Ben Davidson, largest surge was 1996, 1997, largest acceleration 2006, 2007, moderate acceleration 2017, major acceleration 2023 to 2025. Next event, we're right in the middle of it, people. He's a little bit out on that one. I think the events are going to hit sooner than that. And he thinks the major pole flip will be 2045. I doubt it. It'll be sooner. Okay, Ben Davidson again. Pole flip when? Changes on planets, stars, and sun. 1859 Carrington event. Solar kill shot eventually. Yeah. Weather, animals, solar, red and black. 2030s. Yep. Solar micronova event. 2030s, 2040s. He's probably accurate there. Shell impact, Arctic charge within hours. Whole planet electrical insult. Yeah, insult, okay, within minutes. Earth turns over, impactors, cold begins immediately. Last days, weeks. Interesting. So once again, more from Ben. Sun weather news. 33% to 50% of the magnetic pole shift, and another acceleration is expected in the 2030s. He cites these 6,000-year events. For control intel plans are in place for 2026 through 2027 on the topic. Attempted, so they know it's going to get bad, and they'll have to have underground bunkers built by 2026 to 2027. Human brains will be exposed to 5 to 8% higher radiation already. We're going to have problems with our emotional regulation. Okay, and then let's see, the urgency of the geomagnetic secular variation concern. Everybody's noticing it. Everybody's aware, even the schools. Okay, so Science Magazine is stating sun-like stars produce super flares roughly once per century, 150 to 200 years for sure. And so we had the Carrington event 150 years ago. It's due, okay? And pause it if you want to. There's your Carrington event, and we almost had something similar to that the other day when we had these sunspots developing, okay? And so it can happen, people, okay? Or the micronova, which I argue Ben is correct with that. The Atlantic and physics.org have been talking about it since 2022. These types of micronovas have occurred across solar systems light years away, but they can occur here. And it's biblical. It's definitely the sixth seal. So expect the poles to keep on moving. Isaiah 24:1 and 6 talk about making it waste. It turns upside down. That's pole wobble and eventual flip. And then, therefore, the inhabitants of the earth are burned and few men are left. That's exactly what's going to occur. Ben Davidson again. This is AI answering. It's very interesting. What I recommend is that you pause it and read it for yourself. It's very interesting how they're citing biblical sources in the AI. Now, Ben tends to turn to Grok. What I'm saying is that Grok is citing the trumpet's beginning, at some point in time. Very interesting. They're close to where I'm at. I'm saying we're due for the sixth seal. So the main thing is they're citing biblical terms now, and they're somewhat accurate. And they're saying literally start sounding when the trumpets start sounding, and the locust scorpions show up. I'll happily update my assessment in real time. Just pause it and read it for yourself. It's very interesting. So this is Dudeman and his way of stating what's coming. The angel of the Lord also told me, I have blessed this country, America, because of the Jewish people who are in the country. I have 7 million Jews in the country, but they do not want to recognize the Lord. They didn't want to thank God for the blessing they received in this country. Israel doesn't want to recognize Jesus Christ. They put their faith in the Jewish people in America, but when America burns, the Lord will raise China, Japan, and other nations to go against the Russians. They will beat the Russians and push them all the way to the gates of Paris, which means Russia will be limited to Europe, and they'll go to Paris and they'll fight in Paris. Okay, over there they will make a treaty and appoint the Russians as their leaders. They will then unite against Israel. That's the Gog-Magog war. When Israel realizes she does not have the strength of America behind her, she will be frightened. That's when we will turn to the Messiah for deliverance. That's when the Messiah will come. Then the church will meet Jesus in the air. That's the post-trib, we'll call it, rapture, okay? And he will bring us back with him to the Mount of Olives, and we'll watch him fight, okay? And at that time, the Battle of Armageddon will be fought. That's Dudeman. We're in the birth pangs. We're not in the tribulation. We're not in the Great Tribulation. We're watching Greenland because it's strategic. And Trump is right. So that's where we're at. Thank you very much for your time. Sorry that I took so long, but it takes time to build the storyline. Take care. God bless. See you in a week.